Please tell us more.
Thank you very much. We own a small winery that is artisanal and family owned in the middle of a desert in the state of Rio Negro, Argentina, so southern hemisphere. And over there we make primarily Pinot from some quite old vineyards that were planted in 1932 and in 1955 and in the 80s as well. And we farm in a very simple way, practicing organic and biodynamic farming in an effort to really enhance the terroir that we have.
Now, tonight's dinner at this wonderful Italian restaurant, the Garibaldi, many people say is called or known as Argentina meets Italy. Why?
Meaning, sorry.
The cuisine tonight
yes.
is paired with Argentina
yes.
and Italy.
Yes.
Why do you choose Garibaldi?
I think that Garibaldi has an incredible reputation and with fantastic food. Wine knows no nationality in a way, because you can make great wine just about anywhere. And I think that this is a perfect opportunity for us to see that the Pinot that we make in Argentina is going to be perfectly paired with Italian wine as well. Besides, I'm Italian, I'm Italian, my family lives in Italy, we own 2 wineries in Italy, and so I think it's a perfect venue to do that.
Amazing. And tell us more about the menu tonight, and how did you pair with it?
But the menu tonight, as you might have seen, there is some pasta and there is some fish, and also there is some meat. I think very often there is a misconception that red wine doesn't pair very well with fish. Historically, fish is more paired with white wine. In reality, I think that if you have a Pinot that is balanced and there is maybe, like in our case, our wine is very floral, is very mineral. It's quite delicate. Our alcohols are usually hovering between 12 to 13%. So if you serve it at the right temperature, I think it's a perfect complement for the food and for certain type of fish. So it's a way to show to our clients this versatility of the wine, and that there is more than one option that you can have this grape and our wine with.
Now, how did you discover the wonderful terroir in Argentina?
For me, it all started by drinking a wine in New York, made by a Danish enologist, who's a dear friend of mine, who is the partner of my cousin in a wine venture down there. And I was a bit surprised to find out that it was a South American Pinot, because the characteristics were very old world in a way, and it reminded me of Burgundy, but maybe with a touch of fresh fruit that is not always so common. And so I decided to take a plane and to go and look for myself, and with the help of this gentleman, of Hans, and my cousin Noemi, I managed to find some vineyards that I believe were quite unique, because all of our vineyards are ungrafted. So it's Massal. Phyllosphaera doesn't really, it's there, we believe, but it doesn't really propagate. It's kind of the Garden of Eden to make wine in a sense, because being in a desert, the humidity is very low. So you don't really have propagation of bacteria or pests or diseases. And also the water is incredibly pure and quite mineral. There is no pollution. There is a very constant breeze that removes again all the impurities. And our nights, being in a desert, are very cold, and cold nights they help to promote finer aromas within the wine and develop these finer aromas. And also it gives us the ability to retain acidity, which is very much a characteristic of our wines. They're quite fresh. We're not a New World in style. We're a New World in location, but not so much in style. So we like maybe balance over concentration or strong extraction.
Now, tell us your secret of how do you manage to make good wine, because you choose to have no mechanism at all. No, it's purely organic.
But the reality is that we try to shy away from technology and from equipment. Some of our vineyards we farm them not with a tractor but with a horse in an effort to avoid or prevent compactations of the soils. Our method of fermentation, it's very much of a natural old type of approach. We ferment in cement vats. We decant by gravity into barrels, and we have a fantastic team and a fantastic enologist, and it's a collaboration. But it all starts from the terroir. So the terroir that we have, we believe it's unique in its own way, and it's really conducive to this type of approach. So it's not so much about us, but it's about nature that it really delivers in this valley.
So what's your philosophy of a good terroir for Bodega Chacra?
I think that every terroir has need to find its own specific grape to be matched, so that there is the opportunity to make a wine of consequence. I think that in a very odd way, Rio Negro is a place that lends itself to more than one grape. I think that it's amazing for Malbec, but at the same time is amazing for Pinot. It's very good for Cabernet, and I also tried some Syrah that are very good. So in this case, we have an incredible pure soil. The mineral composition it's quite appropriate because we have sandy soils, we have some limestone and clay, and these are very good soil compositions for Pinot. On top of it, even though the day temperature are quite warm, because in the summer you can reach maybe 30, 32, 33 degrees, at the night it can drop down to 6, 8, 10 degrees, and that it's fantastic for agriculture in general, not just for winemaking, but I think in particular for Pinot it works very well. It's a very delicate grape, the bunches are very small, they're very tight, it's very fragile on all the levels, whether it's from a farming point of view, so from a viticulture point of view, as well as from a fermentation point of view. And so nature it's really quite perfect there.
Now, speaking about perfection, Mr. Piero Incisa, please tell us what's the biggest challenge that you face in planting your vineyard, especially dealing with Pinot Noir. The grapes are very delicate.
But once again, I cannot stretch enough the uniqueness of the place. So for us, the challenges are not so much there; they're elsewhere. The real challenges that we have today maybe are a strong inflation, difficult economical situation in the country, and also the fact that Pinot really is known to be primarily from Burgundy. So making Pinot from an area that nobody would expect that there is Pinot coming out from Patagonia. People think mountains, glaciers, lakes, or they think clothing. There's a brand of clothing. But from a farming point of view, maybe the biggest threat that we have at times it's spring frosts. Because we have that risk being in a desert, and that can be quite challenging. But other than that, it's quite extraordinary.
Now, about your vintages, what would you recommend for our viewers who are going to consume for the very first time? What would be the year that would be good for them to try?
We don't have the same history that our winery in Italy or that Burgundy has. So the depth of our library only dates back to 2004, of which I only have 4 bottles left at the estate. So it's difficult to find older vintages. I'm very fond personally of the 08 the 010 was a cold vintage. We managed to make Chacra 55 was at 11.5 alcohol, which is quite rare, and it is quite delicate, so quite appropriate also for fish. I think that the current vintages 2011 and 2012 are fantastic also because you've seen really an evolution of all the work that has been done in the vineyard, and not just in the vineyard but all the intellectual aspects that has a lot of thought has gone into it, and so we have managed to you see a progression in the vineyards and in the cellar and in our practice, and also in the barrel blend, in the mix of the barrels that we're using, and so I am very much fond of the current vintage. Barda 2012, which is our entry-level wine. It's extremely delicate, some rose petals, a little bit of violet, very mineral. It's quite beautiful, and same goes for Chacra 55, has a little bit more structure. We do that in full bunches, so the tannins are a little bit different, the aromatics are slightly different, still very feminine in style. And the 32, which is our top wine from a vineyard planted in 1932, we make a very small quantity, around 6,800 bottles. That has a little bit more layer to it, so it's great now if you like younger wines, but it's a wine that is meant to be aged a little bit.
Now you have this wonderful Merlot that you created. How do you call that? Minky? Or?
It's called Maike.
Maike.
Yeah, you don't really pronounce the N.
Oh, okay.
It's incidentally it's the name of the village in which we're in, where Chacra is located in the village of Maike, and it's actually a local name that the Indians used to. It's the name of a bird, so that hovers over the vineyards.
Now, interestingly, on your label you have bees around
Yeah.
it. Why is it so?
But several meanings, but the most important one is to give a little bit of credit to some of the insects, animals, and all of the microcosm that exist within Chacra that helps us to capture this biodiversity that we have within the farm. And bees are essential to life. They're essential to life on Earth, to fruits, for pollination, as you know. So it was a way to acknowledge that they're making our life, excuse me, they're making our life easier. And we have every vineyard has its own sets of beehives. So they do a lot of work for us, and they're not paid. They work for free. So it was a way to acknowledge them.
Now, for 2014 vintage, what can our viewers expect?
You know, it's bad luck for us winemakers to speak about the vintage that is not yet in the can. We don't really want to jinx it. All I would like to say is that it looks quite incredibly promising, but we're quite far. We're months away. For us in the Southern Hemisphere, we usually pick the first vineyard around the last week of February, sometime first week of March. It depends on the vintages. And so far we've seen a beautiful flowering season, very even. So we have an incredible balance already in the vineyards. The conditions of the winter have been very good. We had a few frost coming in, and it's great because it cleanses all of the area out of any pest or disease, so it resets a little bit all of that, and it looks very good so far, but we're not quite there yet.
Well, Mr. Piero, thank you for joining us here at the National Critics' Choice. Can you tell our viewers where can they find out more information? Do you have a Facebook or a website?
Yes, we have a website which is www.bodegachacra.com, and it's a very simple website. You know, we're a very small winery, family owned and family operated. We're artisanal, so the website sort of reflects that. It's very minimalistic, but you're able to access all of the technical sheets about each vintage and each wine. And also there is a press section that allows you to read some press if you want to go a little bit more in depth and see what some people have to say about our wine. So besides, there is a brief history of the estate and where we are, and so you get some general information of what it is.
And before we really go,
Yeah.
for Bodega Chacra,
Yeah.
What is the true meaning behind it?
Chacra in this part of Argentina, it means a farm. It means a farm, and in this case, the farms that we find in Rio Negro, where we are usually of square dimensions, and they're 20 hectares in size. The British people did the subdivision of the valley, and they harnessed the river in order to bring the water a little bit more on the side of this riverbed, effectively creating an incredible visual layout, because each one of these farms that are square are delimited by poplar trees planted in double rows, and the poplar trees play a key role because they grow very fast and it's quite flexible, and it's planted to protect the agricultural cultivations that are within the farm from this strong winds that I was telling you about. So that's what a chacra is really a farm, and we wanted to use a simple local word that was a word of the land, a word of the place, and it was actually my cousin that suggested that I use this word, and I think it's quite suited for what we wanted to do, and so.
Well, once again, Mr. Piero Incisa della Rocchetta, thank you for joining us here at the National Critics' Choice. And viewers, please do look up their website for more information. And once again, I'm Robin Stienberg. Thank you for joining me here in Singapore at the National Critics' Choice.
Thank you.